Welcome, dear viewers, to a story that delves into the profound chasm between two worlds, a chasm often bridged by nothing more than a twist of fate, a moment of choice, and the unwavering strength of the human spirit. Today, we're going to explore how an unexpected discovery by one soul can reverberate through the life of another, challenging assumptions and reshaping legacies. Our story begins in the bustling heart of a city that never sleeps, yet holds pockets of quiet desperation. Here we find Maya Jenkins, a young woman whose life is a testament to resilience. Maya wasn't born into luxury, quite the opposite. Her days were a relentless cycle of hard work, each sunrise bringing a new set of challenges to overcome. She worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs, a barista in the morning, a cleaner in the afternoon, and a caregiver in the evenings. Every penny she earned was meticulously stretched, not for extravagant wants, but for the basic necessities: rent for her tiny apartment, groceries for her table, and most pressingly, medication for her ailing grandmother, Elena, whose gentle spirit was the only constant comfort in Maya's often turbulent world. Maya's apartment, nestled in a weathered building on the city's outskirts, was modest. The paint peeled in places, the floorboards creaked with every step, and the heating often sputtered in the harsh winter months. But within those 4 walls, Maya had created a sanctuary of warmth and love for Elena. Their evenings were filled with the soft murmur of old stories, the scent of simple home-cooked meals, and the quiet understanding that they had each other no matter what. Despite the constant struggle, Maya carried herself with a quiet dignity. Her eyes, though often tired, held a spark of unyielding hope. She believed fundamentally in the goodness of people and in the power of perseverance. There's always a way, even when it's hard, she'd often tell herself, a mantra against the encroaching tide of cynicism that life often tried to impose. On the other side of this vast city, in a world of towering glass and steel, lived Arthur Sterling. Arthur was a name synonymous with power, wealth, and an almost mythical level of strategic acumen. He was a titan of industry, his empire spanning continents, his decisions shaping markets, and his legacy already etched into the very fabric of global finance. Arthur moved through life with a calculated grace, his bespoke suits impeccably tailored, his gaze sharp and analytical. He commanded respect not through bluster, but through the sheer weight of his intellect and the chilling precision of his words. Arthur Sterling was a man driven by legacy. He saw the world as a complex chessboard and himself as the grandmaster, constantly anticipating moves, orchestrating outcomes. He believed that everything, every human interaction, every market fluctuation, every decision could be quantified, analyzed, and ultimately controlled. Yet beneath the veneer of absolute control and immense power lay a man burdened with an almost suffocating sense of isolation. His wealth had built walls, not bridges. Trust was a concept he rarely afforded, having witnessed countless betrayals, both personal and professional. He had come to view human nature with a jaded eye, convinced that self-interest was the ultimate, inescapable driver. His catchphrase, uttered with the weight of years of observation, is "Time is the ultimate currency." For Arthur, time was not merely moments ticking by. It was a resource to be invested, leveraged, and never, ever wasted on frivolities or unreliable emotions. He sought to understand the true nature of integrity, not from books, but from real-world tests.
Sharing Arthur's world, albeit from a slightly more sheltered perspective, was his niece, Sophia Hayes. Sophia was in her mid-20s, intelligent and poised, groomed from birth to inherit a portion of the Sterling legacy. She had an impeccable education, a sharp wit, and a natural flair for business. However, her life had been largely confined to the gilded cage of privilege. She moved within exclusive circles, attended prestigious events, and had never truly faced the raw, unvarnished struggles of everyday life. Her understanding of the world was largely theoretical, based on economic reports and corporate strategies, rather than lived experience. Sophia admired her uncle immensely, yet sometimes found his relentless pursuit of control and his emotional detachment unsettling. She often felt a pressure to live up to his exacting standards, fearing failure more than anything. Her natural confidence, while genuine, could sometimes come across as condescending, a byproduct of her sheltered existence. There's more to life than money. Eventually, she would often say, a reflection of her own burgeoning desire to understand the deeper meaning of purpose, a quest often at odds with her uncle's pragmatic worldview. She was Arthur's sounding board, his shadow, learning the ropes of his empire, often tasked with observing his various projects, be they business ventures or, as we shall see, tests of human character. These three souls, Maya, Arthur, and Sophia, moved in orbits so distinct, so seemingly disconnected, that it would take an extraordinary event to bring them into alignment. And that event, as fate would have it, was a lost box. A box that contained not just money, but a profound question about integrity, a challenge to preconceived notions, and a catalyst for change. The city hummed around them, oblivious to the intricate web about to be woven, a web that would inextricably link the lives of the underprivileged girl, the powerful billionaire, and his ambitious kin, in a story that would ask, what is the true price of honesty, and what is the real currency of a human life? It was a particularly harsh Tuesday evening, the kind where the biting wind seemed to strip the warmth right from your bones. Maya had just finished her shift as a cleaner at one of the city's older, less glamorous office buildings. The air was thick with the scent of floor wax and disinfectant, a familiar companion to her exhaustion. She pulled her worn jacket tighter around her, anticipating the long bus ride home to Elena. Her feet ached, her shoulders protested, but her mind was already planning tomorrow's schedule, trying to squeeze in extra hours to cover Elena's unexpectedly high prescription cost. As she made her final rounds, checking that all the waste bins were emptied and the doors secured, she noticed something unusual. Tucked away in a dimly lit corner of the otherwise immaculate executive floor, behind a large, forgotten potted plant, was a small, unassuming wooden box. It wasn't large, perhaps the size of a shoebox, but it looked out of place. It was old, with intricate, tarnished brass fittings, and looked as if it had been discarded or perhaps simply overlooked. Her supervisor, a gruff but fair man named Mr. Henderson, was meticulous. Nothing was ever left behind. Maya's curiosity, a rare luxury in her busy life, was piqued. She knelt down, her fingers brushing against the cool, smooth wood. It was heavier than she expected. With a slight pull, the brass clasp, surprisingly, wasn't locked. It sprang open with a soft, almost ethereal click. Maya gasped, her breath hitched in her throat. Inside, neatly stacked and bound with paper bands, were bundles upon bundles of cash. $100 bills, crisp and new, filled the box to the brim. Green, glorious, impossible green. Millions. Her mind, accustomed to counting pennies and nickels, struggled to comprehend the sheer volume. It was an amount beyond her wildest dreams, a fortune that could eradicate every single one of her burdens, secure Elena's health, and change her life and Elena's forever. The fluorescent lights of the deserted office building seemed to hum around her, amplifying the silence, making the moment feel surreal, dreamlike. Her heart pounded in her chest, a frantic drum against her ribs. Thoughts, wild and untamed, raced through her mind. This was it. This was the answer. No more worrying about rent. No more juggling jobs. No more watching Elena suffer. A single, fleeting image of Elena smiling, truly smiling without the underlying pain, flashed before her eyes. The temptation was immense, a siren song whispering promises of ease and comfort. No one was here. No one would ever know. It was just her, the empty office, and a box overflowing with a life-altering sum. But then another thought, equally powerful, pushed its way through the fog of desire. It wasn't hers. It belonged to someone else. Someone had lost it. The sheer value of what lay before her meant it had to be deeply important to its owner. She imagined the panic, the desperation of the person who had misplaced such a fortune. Her strong moral compass, forged in the fires of her own struggles, began to assert itself. There's always a way, even when it's hard, she silently reminded herself. And suddenly, the hard way felt like the only way she could truly live with herself. Carefully, Maya closed the lid, the soft click echoing her resolve. She gently pushed the box back behind the plant, out of sight. Her initial shock gave way to a cold, analytical determination. She needed to find the owner. But how? This wasn't a misplaced wallet or a forgotten umbrella. This was a mystery, shrouded in opulence and secrecy. She left the building that night with a different kind of burden, a silent, weighty secret clutched close to her heart, heavier than any cleaning equipment.
Meanwhile, miles away, in the hushed opulence of his penthouse office, Arthur Sterling sat before a bank of monitors, his gaze unblinking. One screen displayed a grainy, time-stamped feed of the executive floor in that very building. He watched Maya's every move, her discovery, her gasp, her moment of profound internal conflict. He noted the subtle tremble in her hands, the flicker of desperation in her eyes, followed by the quiet, resolute set of her jaw. He had orchestrated this. The box was meticulously placed, not by chance, but by design. It was a test, one of many he had conducted over the years, but this one felt different. He had heard about Maya Jenkins through his vast network, a fleeting mention from a background check on a different employee, detailing her exceptional work ethic and her difficult circumstances. Something about her profile had intrigued him, a faint echo of the raw, unvarnished integrity he had once believed existed in the world. He hadn't expected her to find the box, merely to be one of many potential subjects, but now that she had, the game was on. Beside him, Sophia Hayes was reviewing market projections, her brow furrowed in concentration. She glanced up at her uncle, sensing his unusual stillness. "Everything all right, Uncle Arthur?" she asked, her tone polite, deferential. Arthur turned from the screen, his expression unreadable. "Sophia," he said, his voice calm, measured. "Tell me, if you were to encounter a significant sum of money, clearly misplaced, what would be your first inclination?"
Sophia considered this, a slight smirk playing on her lips. If it were a negligible sum, I suppose I'd report it to security. If it were substantial, well, I'd certainly ensure it wasn't a trap. Then I'd use every resource at my disposal to verify its ownership. We live in a world, Uncle, where intent and consequence are rarely aligned. One must be cautious. She paused. "Why do you ask? Another one of your social experiments?" Arthur merely offered a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "Time is the ultimate currency, Sophia, and sometimes its true value is revealed not in its accumulation, but in its management. I believe we have an interesting case study developing." He turned back to the screen, where Maya, a tiny figure against the expanse of the city, was now exiting the building, her secret held tight. Sophia, intrigued but accustomed to her uncle's enigmatic pronouncements, simply shrugged and returned to her spreadsheets, unaware of the profound drama her uncle was already orchestrating, a drama in which she too would soon play a significant role. The game had truly begun. The days that followed Maya's discovery were a blur of internal conflict and desperate attempts to maintain normalcy. Every morning she woke with the weight of the secret pressing down on her. The image of the stacked bills flashed behind her eyes, a constant glittering temptation. Elena, bless her heart, noticed Maya's unusual quietness, her distracted gaze. "Is everything all right, my dear?" she'd ask, her voice soft and laced with concern. Maya would offer a reassuring smile, brushing it off as tiredness. How could she explain? How could she burden Elena with such an impossible dilemma? Maya's first instinct was to go to the building security or perhaps the police, but something held her back. The box was so meticulously hidden, the money so vast, it felt like something far beyond a simple lost and found scenario. She feared being accused and tangled in a complex investigation that could jeopardize her jobs, her reputation, and her ability to care for Elena. Her vulnerability to exploitation was a constant shadow in her life. She couldn't risk it. "There's always a way, even when it's hard," she repeated. But this time the way felt obscured, fraught with peril. She spent her lunch breaks and any spare moment she could snatch, discreetly investigating. She couldn't directly ask about a lost box full of millions without raising alarms. Instead, she subtly inquired if anyone had reported anything unusual missing from the executive floor, pretending to be curious after her cleaning rounds. She checked online forums for lost property in the city's business district, filtering for high-value items, but found nothing. It was as if the box and its immense contents had simply vanished from the owner's radar. The irony of her situation was cruel. Every day she saw the financial struggles around her. Her elderly neighbor, Mr. Harrison, a kind widower, was behind on his utility bills, his small apartment growing colder by the day. The local community soup kitchen, where Maya volunteered on her rare free evenings, was facing closure due to lack of funds. Small kindnesses, like buying Elena an extra warm blanket or treating Mr. Harrison to a hot meal, felt like enormous sacrifices. With the money in that box, she could solve all of it. She could save the soup kitchen, pay Mr. Harrison's bills, ensure Elena had the best care money could buy, and free herself from the endless grind. The thought was intoxicating, almost unbearable in its allure.
One evening, at the soup kitchen, a weary woman with sunken eyes confided in Maya about her child's urgent medical need, a treatment that was just out of reach. Maya listened, her heart aching with empathy. Later, as she sorted donated clothes, she found herself staring at her own worn shoes, then mentally comparing them to the crisp bundles of cash. The internal debate raged, a tempest within her soul. Was it truly wrong to take what seemed like a godsend, if it meant alleviating so much suffering? including her own? Could integrity be a luxury only the privileged could afford? Unbeknownst to Maya, her every movement, her every internal struggle was being meticulously observed. Arthur Sterling had indeed installed a discreet monitoring system in the executive suite, activated specifically for this test. He saw her careful inquiries, her hesitant searches online, her quiet despair at the soup kitchen. He witnessed her compassion, her anguish, her fierce internal battle. Arthur, who believed emotion was a weakness, found himself intrigued by the raw, powerful display of Maya's moral compass fighting against the overwhelming tide of personal hardship. She exhibits remarkable resilience, he noted to himself, a rare glint of something akin to admiration in his eyes. But every system has its breaking point. He then decided to introduce a new variable into the experiment, a familiar face to keep the scenario grounded and test a different aspect of his own network, Sophia. Arthur summoned Sophia to his office. "Sophia," he began, his voice calm, "I have a task for you, one that requires your particular blend of charm and discernment. There's a situation developing related to a significant asset. I want you to investigate. Find out if anyone has seen or heard anything unusual on the executive floor of the Sterling Tower Annex. Be subtle. Speak to the cleaners, the receptionists, anyone who might have observed something out of the ordinary. Offer a reward for any substantial information, a finder's fee, if you will, but do not specify the nature of what's missing." Sophia's eyes lit up. A reconnaissance mission? Fascinating. Is this asset important? Extremely, Arthur affirmed. It represents a crucial measure of integrity, and discretion, Sophia, is paramount. Do not reveal my involvement, nor the true value of what you're seeking. Observe reactions, note any unusual behavior, and tell me what you find. He handed her a discreet, non-traceable prepaid card with a substantial sum for her finder's fee offer. Sophia, eager to prove her mettle to her uncle, accepted the task with enthusiasm. She saw it as a challenging intellectual puzzle, a test of her observational skills. She started her investigation by casually visiting the Sterling Tower Annex, pretending to be conducting a routine employee satisfaction survey. She spoke to the night shift supervisor, Mr. Henderson, a man known for his strict adherence to rules. She chatted with the receptionists, the security guards, and eventually the cleaning crew. When she encountered Maya, pushing her cleaning cart, Sophia immediately noticed the quiet intensity in the young woman's eyes. Maya, recognizing Sophia as one of the upper echelons, felt a prickle of unease. Sophia, however, was smooth. "Hello," she said, offering a warm professional smile. "I'm Sophia Hayes from corporate, just doing some casual check-ins. How are things on your end? Noticed anything out of the ordinary recently? Anything at all that might have seemed a little misplaced?" Maya's heart jumped. Was this it? Had they discovered the box was missing? She feigned casualness, her voice, as usual, soft. "Out of the ordinary? Not that I can recall, Miss Hayes. Just the usual busy office life." Sophia studied her, a flicker of something in Maya's gaze catching her attention. "Well, if you do, there's a substantial reward for any information leading to the recovery of, let's just say, a very valuable item that might have been accidentally left behind. No questions asked, just information. Even a small detail could be helpful. Up to $50,000, in fact." $50,000. The words hung in the air, a new layer of temptation. It was less than the millions, of course, but it was still an amount that could change Maya's life. It was a safe, clean way to get a significant sum without the moral complexities of keeping the entire box. She could simply report finding something, vaguely, and then turn it over. But that would be a lie. It wouldn't be the finder's fee for information. It would be accepting a bribe for her honesty, dressing it up in corporate speak. Her conscience recoiled. I appreciate the offer, Miss Hayes," Maya said, her voice slightly strained, "but I haven't seen anything. If I do, I'll be sure to report it through the official channels." Sophia's smile remained, but her gaze sharpened. She sensed a firmness in Maya's refusal that didn't quite align with her outward appearance of humility. It was intriguing. She continued her survey, but Maya Jenkins remained a curious anomaly in her notes. The situation became even more dire for Maya. Elena's condition worsened slightly, requiring a more expensive medication. The landlord, usually understanding, delivered a firm notice. Rent was due, and late fees would apply without exception. Maya found herself staring at the dwindling funds in her meager bank account, the numbers mocking her. The weight of her integrity felt almost unbearable. The box of money, still hidden, seemed to glow in her mind's eye, a tangible solution to every problem, a whispered promise of immediate relief. One night, Maya found herself standing alone in her small kitchen,
the city lights a distant blur outside her window. She held Elena's latest medical bill in her hand, the numbers blurring through unshed tears. For a fleeting moment, she considered going back to the executive floor, retrieving the box, and simply disappearing. She pictured a new life, far away, where no one knew her past, where she could finally breathe. But then, she pictured Elena's face, her kind, unwavering eyes. Elena had taught her the value of honesty, the true richness of a clean conscience. What kind of person would she become if she took the money? What kind of example would she be setting for herself, for Elena's memory, for the values she held dear? There's always a way, even when it's hard. She whispered to the empty room, her voice trembling. But this time, the hard way seemed utterly impossible. Yet the conviction remained, a stubborn ember in the storm. She would not take what was not hers. She would find the owner. No matter how hard it was, no matter the personal cost, she would find a way to make things right. It was a choice born not of ease, but of profound moral courage. A choice Arthur Sterling was watching with an intensity he hadn't felt in years, and one that Sophia Hayes, unknowingly, was about to witness firsthand.
Maya knew she couldn't keep the secret much longer. The burden was suffocating, threatening to break her. Her resolve to return the money had hardened, but the how remained elusive. Then an idea, simple yet bold, sparked in her mind. Instead of trying to find the owner through official channels, which felt like walking into a trap, she would try a more personal approach. She had meticulously cleaned that executive floor for months. She knew the names of the companies, the subtle habits of the executives. She would write a letter, anonymous, asking the owner to contact her, stating only that she had found something of immense value and wished to return it. It was a risk, a leap of faith that the right person would respond, and not someone trying to exploit the situation. She spent hours crafting the letter, pouring her heart into the words, explaining her dilemma, her desire for honesty, without revealing the exact nature of her find. She sealed it in an unmarked envelope, and with trembling hands slipped it under the door of the largest, most opulent suite on the executive floor, the office she instinctively felt belonged to the true owner of such a treasure. It was Sterling Corp's main executive office. Arthur Sterling, who had indeed returned to his main office after monitoring Maya for gaze, found the unassuming envelope tucked beneath his door the next morning. His security team had cleared it, finding no threats, but his curiosity was piqued. He opened it, his eyes scanning the elegant, earnest script. A small, almost imperceptible smile touched his lips. "Remarkable," he murmured. "She truly is a woman of integrity." The letter provided a burner phone number and a vague public meeting spot, a quiet corner of the botanical gardens, for a specific time, just 2 days away. He immediately understood. Maya wasn't just trying to return the money. She was trying to return it safely, on her own terms, protecting herself. He admired her caution. Arthur then called Sophia. "Sophia," he said, his voice calm, "remember that valuable asset I asked you to investigate? I believe the finder has initiated contact. I want you to accompany me to a meeting. You will observe, and you will learn. This is not a negotiation. It is an observation of character." He didn't tell her who they were meeting, only that it would be a critical lesson in human nature. The day of the meeting arrived. Maya, dressed in her best, yet still modest clothes, felt a knot of anxiety tighten in her stomach. She carried the heavy wooden box in a nondescript canvas bag, the weight a constant reminder of the life-altering choice she was about to make. She arrived at the botanical gardens early, finding the designated bench. Her heart pounded as she watched the elegant figures stroll by, searching for anyone who seemed to be looking for her. Then she saw them, an older man impeccably dressed, with an aura of undeniable power, and beside him, Sophia Hayes, her expression curious, slightly intrigued. Maya's breath caught. Sophia, the woman who had offered her $50,000 for information. This was Arthur Sterling, she realized with a jolt. The owner of the building, the titan of industry. Her jaw tightened. She had walked directly into the lion's den. Arthur and Sophia approached the bench. Arthur's eyes, sharp and intelligent, met Maya's. Sophia's brows furrowed in surprise as she recognized the cleaning lady from the annex. She exchanged a quick, confused glance with her uncle, who gave her a subtle, dismissive nod. "You must be Maya Jenkins," Arthur stated, his voice calm and authoritative. "I received your letter." Maya stood, clutching her bag. "And you must be Mr. Sterling. I believe I have something that belongs to you." She carefully set the canvas back on the bench and unzipped it, revealing the old wooden box. She opened the lid, revealing the stacks of cash, gleaming in the dappled light. Sophia gasped. "Uncle Arthur, this is the valuable asset?" Her voice was laced with disbelief, her gaze darting between the millions in the box and Maya's unwavering, though nervous, face. Arthur kept his eyes fixed on Maya. Indeed, Sophia. Maya, this box, and its contents, were placed as a test of integrity. I have been observing you. Maya felt a rush of both relief and a strange indignation. A test. All her struggle, all her anguish, had been a calculated experiment? A test? She repeated, her voice rising slightly. While I struggled to pay for my grandmother's medicine, while I worried about keeping a roof over our heads, you put this temptation in my path? Arthur remained unperturbed. Such is the nature of a true test, Maya. It must present genuine stakes. And you, Miss Jenkins, have passed with flying colors. Not only did you not take the money, but you sought to return it, even going to great lengths to ensure its safe return and your own safety. Your integrity is truly remarkable. Sophia, witnessing this exchange, felt a profound shift within her. She saw Maya not as a lowly cleaner, but as a formidable woman of principle, standing her ground against her formidable uncle. The $50,000 finder's fee now seemed like an insult, a pittance compared to the moral wealth Maya possessed. But then came the twist, the revelation that would rattle Arthur Sterling to his core and truly shift Sophia's perspective. Mr. Sterling, Maya continued, her voice firm, I didn't just find the money. I found this. She reached into a small inner pocket of her canvas bag and produced a discreet, encrypted USB drive. It was tucked beneath the false bottom of the box. It looks like a backup, or perhaps a ledger, but it wasn't just cash that was in that box. Arthur's calm demeanor shattered. His eyes narrowed, a flicker of genuine shock crossing his face. He quickly took the drive, his fingers expertly connecting it to a small, secure tablet he always carried. A few swift taps, and his face went ashen. The USB contained encrypted files detailing a series of elaborate shell companies, illicit offshore transfers, and what appeared to be a systematic embezzlement scheme. But it wasn't just a general scheme. It traced back to a specific name, a name Arthur had trusted implicitly for decades, his chief financial officer, a man named Jonathan Vance, who had been orchestrating this betrayal from within the very heart of Sterling Corp. Sophia gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Jonathan Vance was a highly respected figure in the company, a family friend, someone she had always looked up to. Arthur's face was a mask of cold fury, but beneath it, Maya could see a profound hurt, a betrayal that cut deeper than any financial loss. The test had indeed revealed integrity, but it had also, unexpectedly, unveiled a far more sinister truth he had been blind to. He had been so focused on testing others, on seeking proof of human weakness, that he had missed the treachery festering right under his nose from someone he considered family. Jonathan Vance, Arthur whispered, the name of venomous hiss. He was supposed to find this box. He was supposed to claim it, perhaps even hide it as his own. He knew the money was there, likely planned to funnel it into his scheme.
Maya hadn't just returned the money. She had exposed a massive, systemic fraud. Her integrity had not only passed Arthur's test, but had inadvertently revealed a much larger, more personal betrayal that deeply wounded the seemingly impenetrable billionaire. Arthur Sterling, the man who controlled everything, had been profoundly betrayed by one he trusted and rescued, not by his vast network, but by the quiet honesty of a woman he had set out to test. His meticulous plans had been outmaneuvered, not by a rival, but by simple, unvarnished goodness. The test was not just for Maya. It was, unexpectedly, for Arthur himself, a brutal lesson in trust and the true meaning of oversight. The aftermath of that extraordinary meeting in the botanical gardens rippled through the lives of all three individuals, profoundly reshaping their futures. Arthur Sterling, for the first time in decades, felt truly blindsided. The revelation of Jonathan Vance's betrayal was a bitter pill, exposing a vulnerability he hadn't known he possessed. His trust issues, long held and deeply ingrained, were both affirmed and challenged. He had believed everyone was driven by self-interest, but Maya had defied that axiom. Her actions, her profound integrity, had not only saved his company from massive financial ruin, but had forced him to confront his own emotional detachment, his reliance on control, and his jaded view of humanity.
He realized that in orchestrating his elaborate tests, he had been searching for something he deeply yearned for, genuine, unblemished character in a world he perceived as corrupt, and he had found it in the most unlikely of places. Arthur initiated swift and decisive action. Jonathan Vance was arrested, his network dismantled, and the stolen funds recovered. The public scandal was contained with Arthur's usual precision, but privately, he was a changed man. Time is the ultimate currency, he'd always said, but now he understood that time spent building trust, fostering genuine connection, and investing in human values held an even greater, immeasurable worth. He began to look at his legacy differently, not just as an empire of wealth, but as an opportunity for positive impact. For Sophia Hayes, the experience was nothing short of transformative. She had witnessed her uncle, the indomitable Arthur Sterling, vulnerable and deeply affected. She had seen Maya Jenkins, a woman from a world so different from her own, display a strength of character that dwarfed any material wealth. The $50,000 reward now seemed laughably inadequate, a shallow gesture compared to the profound moral courage Maya had shown. Sophia's shuftered worldview cracked wide open, allowing a flood of new understanding. She realized that true value wasn't just in balance sheets and market cap, but in the unseen fabric of human decency and resilience. Sophia, no longer merely an observer, began to actively seek out ways to make a tangible difference. She joined Arthur in a new philanthropic venture he established, focused on community development and ethical leadership. She started working more closely with nonprofit organizations, learning firsthand about the struggles Maya and countless others faced. Her initial condescension melted away, replaced by genuine empathy and a deep respect for those who navigate life's challenges with grace and integrity. She realized her catchphrase, "There's more to life than money," eventually had gained a profound new meaning for her.
And what of Maya Jenkins? She stood firm amidst the whirlwind, unwavering in her values. Arthur Sterling did not just offer her a reward, he offered her a partnership. Deeply impressed by her intelligence, her resourcefulness, and her unshakable moral compass, he offered her a position in his newly formed philanthropic division, tasked with identifying and supporting community initiatives that truly made a difference. It was a role that allowed her to use her profound empathy and understanding of real-world struggles to help others, on a scale she could never have imagined. Maya's life changed dramatically, but her core remained the same. She moved into a comfortable, secure apartment, ensuring Elena received the best possible care, her grandmother's health steadily improving, her smile now genuinely radiant. But Maya never forgot her roots. She ensured the local soup kitchen received robust funding, turning it into a thriving community hub. She supported Mr. Harrison and many others, not with handouts, but with opportunities. She became a bridge between two worlds, guiding Arthur's vast resources to where they could do the most good, always remembering her own mantra, "There's always a way, even when it's hard." The story of Maya Jenkins, the poor girl who found a lost box full of millions, became a legend within Arthur Sterling's inner circle. It was a powerful reminder that while wealth could buy influence and comfort, it could never purchase integrity. It taught a jaded billionaire that true vision sometimes came from the unlikeliest of sources, and that the greatest tests revealed not just weakness, but extraordinary strength. This story teaches us that integrity is not a luxury, but a fundamental human strength. It reminds us that our choices, especially in the face of immense temptation, define who we are. And it shows us that sometimes the most profound lessons come not from grand strategies or towering fortunes, but from the simple, unwavering honesty of a single, resilient soul. Maya Jenkins didn't just return a box of money. She returned hope, not just to herself, but to a billionaire who had almost forgotten its true value. What are your thoughts on Maya's incredible integrity? Have you ever faced a dilemma where your honesty was truly tested? Share your stories in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next story of human triumph. Thank you for watching.